All right, we're back from break. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight on the SquadCast. What an opening segment, Max.
Not bad.
There is a lot going on in the NHL, and I feel like we're just scratching the surface. So we're definitely going to be coming back to that later in the show.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
But before we get into more hockey, we got to hit the diamonds. And we're heading down to Atlanta now. And our VIP guest tonight joins us from Atlanta, Georgia, where his Toronto Blue Jays are currently on a road swing against the Braves. Joining us tonight, please welcome Blue Jays pitcher and host of Goats on the Bump and Big Swing, the Big Swing, I should say, podcast, Ross Stripling. Ross, again, how's your day off treating you in Atlanta, Georgia today?
What's up, guys? You know what? It's pretty mellow. There, with the protocols and stuff, there's still not a whole lot we can do. Some guys get together and play cards, but most guys just kind of pass the time how they can. I went out, walked around, where I don't even necessarily know where we are in Atlanta, maybe Buckhead, and walked across the street, got some food. There's like a Nordstrom over there. You can kill some time. But yeah, for the most part, man, just pass the day, enjoy the rest, and get ready to get back after it tomorrow.
Perfect. And first of all, obviously, thank you for joining us tonight. It's an honor for both Max and I to chat with you tonight. So thank you for that. Let's kick it off with a look at the team so far this season. The Jays are 17-16 so far through 33 games, 4 games back of the Sox. So, the AL East is always a competitive one. What's the vibe around the team been like this year? From start to finish, there's been some ups and downs, some exciting games, some big battles, some extra inning games. So what's the vibe around the team right now?
The vibe is probably much like every team around baseball right now, which is, man, we have 162 games ahead of us, and we played 60 last year. Like, this is going to be a grind. It's going to be a marathon, and we're going to have to ride the roller coaster, ride the wave a little bit, but. And we battled some big injuries so far and really haven't even played to full strength, right? I mean, George was back for a minute and then we lost him again. Hunjin was gone for a bit. I've been hurt. Kirby Yates is going to miss the whole year. Just kind of the list goes on and on. I think we've had 23 guys go on the DL, which is kind of like a MLB-wide epidemic in a way where just guys are going down left and right. So we realize we're going to have to battle that, and we got a big road ahead of us. But to answer your question, man, the team is excited and ready to win ball games and show up to the stadium every day expecting to win, which is really cool. I had that in LA for 5 years, and you come here thinking like, oh, this is going to be a young team. They're just kind of getting going, getting their feet wet. And it's like, no, these guys want to win and expect to win and play the game the right way and play hard. And that might show its head every now and then if you're talking about defense and some of the stuff on the mound. Maybe we walk some guys and or challenge guys in counts where we shouldn't. That's part of being a young team. But we're learning and we're gelling and we're coming together, and I think we're going to be in the hunt all year.
I saw a stat the other day that the Jays lead the major leagues in home runs, which is always fun to watch. Luckily as Jays fans, we kind of get spoiled a little bit because it seems like most years the Jays are at the top of the league in home runs. But as a pitcher, what's that like knowing that your offense could explode at any minute?
It's a good feeling. It really is. If you go out there and God forbid you give up a 2 or 3 spot in the first inning, like that game's not over. Like our lineup could come right back and put up a 4 spot, and now you're pitching the next inning with the lead. Our lineup is a gauntlet as much as anyone around the big leagues. I mean, we have like a first 6 that's incredible, and then really the back end is just fine. I mean, we're a really solid lineup 1 through 9. And as a pitcher, that's a really good feeling because you just feel like you're going to be in every game that you start. And even if you get behind, there's a really good chance that team's going to come back and get you in it. So I always had a really good lineup in LA, and you felt spoiled, and you get here and have arguably just as good of a lineup as a team that won over 100 games, I think, every year I was there. So I've been very lucky in my major league career, to say the least.
Yeah, you mentioned the bottom 3 aren't that bad either. You saw the other night against the Astros, Rowdy Tellez comes back from a stint in the AAA league, and he comes out and hits a moonshot off Zach Greinke. So, anybody on any given night can pretty much pick it up. But Ross, just to yourself, you got 4 starts under your belt this year. You've done some relieving in your career, but you've mainly been a starter. But how do you feel this year? How do you feel like you're settling into the season so far?
Man, it's been frustrating personally. Just physically, I feel so good. I feel like my stuff is really good and just not really getting the results that I want. And it could be for a variety of factors. I watched this last outing against the Astros, who are always hard in Houston. I mean, that's a really tough lineup, especially in their home ballpark. And I throw Correa, a pretty good bullet up and in off the plate, top of the zone, 2 balls in off the plate, and he pulls it for a 2-run homer off the foul pole. and then they just grind you. Bregman doesn't swing out of the zone. Altuve is really good. Gurriel is I think may have the highest batting average in the big leagues right now. And then Alvarez can hit a homer at any moment. I mean, that's just a tough lineup. So hard to really take much away from that one when it's such a big challenge. But the one before that was Atlanta, where I felt like I threw the ball really well at home in Florida, which is always weird to say at home in Florida. And now I face these guys again on Thursday, and that's going to be a good test. That's the chess match of baseball, right? Is I'm facing these guys when I'm still fresh on their mind. Do I go at them the way I did last time, or do I change it up and throw a new wrinkle in there? But, physically feel like I'm in a really good place and my stuff is good. So I'd like to think that results will follow, the quote unquote trust the process thing, where, you feel like if you're in a good spot that the results should be behind them. And right now, still confident that will happen, but obviously always tweaking, always getting better, always knowing that I can fine tune things and give us a better chance to win than what I'm doing right now and going deeper into games, which I definitely need to do.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to it, Ross. And as you alluded to, right, I mean, the home away from home in Florida and being with the Blue Jays, you're in the unique position where it's the only team in the majors with multiple homes during the regular season, but obviously still being relatively new to the team and everything going on in the world in this last year since you were acquired. Are you getting, I guess, a little bit excited to potentially go in front of the Rogers Center faithful and pitch in Toronto for the first time?
Of course, man. I mean, it's all we talk about. When can we get there? Is it realistic to get there this year? Do we think it can happen? It seems like one week we'll say there's no chance, and the next week it's like, man, it could be as early as July. So like we really don't know. We're not getting very much information. It's purely speculative. We hear news about vaccines and stuff getting rolled out in Canada, and that gives us hope, and so yeah, man, it seems like it's possible by maybe the summer, into the summer and into August and September, we could be playing games in the Rogers Center, which is all we want, right? And I understand that it's all they want too. I mean, I imagine that first game in the Rogers Center is going to be crazy, man. Hopefully we can pack it, and that place is going to be rowdy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Some of my best memories of the Jays were that playoff run from 5 or 6 years ago, and a lot of Canadian baseball fans think very fondly of those times. And obviously, myself and Max are nowhere near Toronto, so we can't make it to games, but we still think back to how loud it was in that stadium. So you're a lucky man, Ross. Hopefully we can get there, like you said.
Absolutely.
But, the pitching staff was one of the offseason storylines for the Jays. There was a lot of guys. You mentioned Kirby Yates earlier, Tyler Chatwood, Steven Matz. I kind of count yourself because you came in a little late last year, but I was wondering if you could tell us about pitching coach Pete Walker and just how influential he is in that bullpen. Because, around these parts, he's kind of a pitcher whisperer, if you will. He brings back a lot of guys from bounce back years, so to speak. So can you tell us about Pete Walker and what he means to that bullpen?
He's the best. I mean, he really is. And I come from Los Angeles, where I had Rick Honeycutt, who'd been around forever and had been like kind of Kershaw's guy for his whole career. And always getting to watch their relationship was really, really cool. And getting to work with him, he was so knowledgeable. Then into Mark Pryor, who obviously was kind of a prodigy in his own right. And then injuries kind of derailed his career, I guess, and a really good coach in the making over there too. And then I get over here to Pete, who is kind of the perfect balance of those two guys. Mark Pryor, very much new era, right? I mean, even though he pitched in the old school, he's a new era coach. Analytics, those kind of things really matter in new school. It's about limiting slug, keep the ball in the yard, miss barrels, and don't walk guys. And Rick Honeycutt was more kind of the delivery and your mechanics. And Pete is a perfect balance of both of those things. And I love how approachable he is. I love how he will never throw too much at you. It's very much, hey, let's tackle this one thing. Let's get that under our belt and really get to where we command whatever that one thing is. And then we'll move on to the next. And right now, as a guy that feels like I'm really close to being really good and I'm just not, I'm relying on him big time. Every bullpen, I'm like, what are you seeing, man? Like, what are you seeing? I feel like I'm throwing really good pitches, but I'm not getting the results. And he'll, kind of point at one thing, like, hey, finish your leg kick, get your leg kick all the way to the top. It's going to give you more time over the rubber. And then I'll do that. And all of a sudden, my next 5 fastballs will feel perfect, will feel very crisp. And it's just something as small as that he just seems like he can really pick up on. And then also relay it in a way that doesn't feel like he's coming down on you, doesn't feel like he's telling you suck, which is the worst thing that he can do, right? And feels like he's building you up even when you're struggling. And he's just got such a perfect personality for coaching. And you just can't find a better guy, a better coach, man. We love him through the whole pitching staff. Whether you're in the bullpen starter, you want to find time out of your day to pick Pete Walker's brain because you're going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely, Ross. And I know the fan base really adores him as much as hopefully his pitchers do. That's for sure. But kind of switching gears from the coaching staff to some of your new teammates, can you just speak to, I guess, the vibe of being around such a youthful, energetic ball club? I can imagine it's not too hard to find energy to go to the ballpark when you got guys like Bo and Vladdy and Cavan, among others, leading the charge. But yeah, can you just speak to that vibe of being around this young, energetic team?
For sure. It's a ton of fun, man. It really is. I mean, and we need it, right? Like when you think about how long this year might be, for one, just the sheer amount of games, but two, starting in Florida, moving our families to Buffalo, hopefully moving our families to Toronto, and all that's going to go into, no other team has to battle that. So for us to have the kind of like youthful energy that we have, and the guys that are excited to be in the big leagues and still kind of getting their feet wet and getting used to being here and the workload and what it takes to be an everyday big league player, and then do it with your smile on your face, like all those guys do. I mean, it's just really cool to watch them grow and to be a small part of it. Obviously, they've come up together and basically played at all levels together, so they're so close, and that's really cool to have teammates that want to hang out away from the field and want to sit by each other on the plane and play cards and just kick back and enjoy each other's company versus kind of getting away because we're around each other all the time, right? And that's not the way this is. These guys want to be around each other. They want to hang out. They want to BS, So it's really, really cool to be a part of. And hopefully they're starting to accept me, which I feel like they are. I want to be a part of the group, but they're just so close and such good friends. It's really fun.
Ross, are you the guy within the meme with the skateboard? Like, hello, young fellow kids.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Somehow that happened quickly. I'm now 31, and you come over here, from LA, where I would follow Clayton Kershaw around like a little puppy dog, to now I come over here and I'm like kind of one of the older guys, and people pick my brain and want my advice on things. It's been a quick transition, but it's been a lot of fun.
Ross, we're pretty much the same age, you and me, so I totally understand where you're coming from on that. Max is a little bit younger, so like he makes fun of me quite a bit, but
yeah, it's
we
not
get
so much
it.
the brain picking, it's the making fun of.
Right.
Either
Yeah,
way,
make fun of me, your elders. But yeah, you mentioned the grind of 162 games and how a fun clubhouse can be a deal breaker, a game changer, so to speak. Where are you at, Ross, in the make baseball fun again argument? There's a lot of stuff going on. Some of your old teammates, some of your old buddies who you've done podcasts with, and we'll get to that in a minute. But, there's been some outspoken players. There's been some more flashy players coming up in this new era of kind of baseball. Where are you at in the argument where, there should be more of that kind of outspoken personality stuff going on in baseball?
Yeah, I'm very much pro. Think that it's great for the game. Obviously, let's say a hitter hits a home run, and I mean, home runs are hard to hit, man. If you want to throw your bat and go to the dugout and pound your chest, I think that's awesome. That's good for the game. We're going to see that all over social media. Guys like Tatis and Soto and Acuna that have brought a lot of energy to the game. That's awesome. But where I draw the line is if you direct it at the pitcher, right? If you start pounding your chest at me, then I don't know, that's kind of crossing a little bit of the line. And I realize that'll probably go even more viral. Mm-hmm. And maybe that makes me soft. But I think that, that's unnecessary. But, man, if you want to celebrate with your team and do all that kind of stuff, I think it's awesome. And you brought up my podcast. We just had John Boy on the Big Swing podcast, who, if you haven't seen his stuff, he breaks down these little 2-3 minute videos of highlights from baseball and does it in a really funny way and narrates over the highlight and breaks them down. And just him. What he does is great for the game because it's funny and it brings light to some serious issues in a game that, there's quite a bit of time between events and in a time where there's more strikeouts than ever and time between home runs and all that kind of stuff that our game's battling right now. We need that energy. So I'm all for it, man. How about you guys? I mean, I'll turn it around on y'all. What do y'all think?
No, we've had this debate a couple of times, and I think we're kind of on the same page as you. I think, there needs to be a bit of a rejuvenation in terms of the energy around the game in terms of the fan base, and I think that goes a long way to it. We had this when the Tatis stuff happened last year with the Grand Slam when they were up, what was it, 9-3 or whatever, and he hit a Grand Slam. We talked about that quite a bit, and a lot of our fans were kind of torn because it's the guy's a hitter. He's there to hit. And how are you mad at him for hitting Anyways, I'm getting a little heated already now thinking about it. But there was people who were saying that was classless or whatever it was. And I just can't see how you can fault a guy for hitting a grand slam.
Well, and I think also too, you take it back to 2015, just in Toronto, it kind of, at least the discussion seemed to really ramp up with Jose when he hit the big home run in the playoffs, right? I mean, that's kind of where the bat flip seemed to kind of have a rejuvenation and I guess a renaissance, if you will. And it's amazing how the conversation has started around it again. But as you alluded to, Ross, conversation around the game and conversation around those events is not a bad thing for the game. And that's where I kind of stand on it as, hey, you know what? Let's inject some energy. Let's inject some life. And like I said, I go back to 2015 as that moment where it just added so much to an already just franchise turning event, right?
Yeah.
It was just incredible. So.
Well, and then the Rugneto door punch at second base, and there's a lot of history there.
How does that guy look across the field without a beard now, Ross? I gotta imagine that's weird after having such an identity for so long with that beard.
Unrecognizable, man. Like I wish I wouldn't have already seen it on social media beforehand, because I was expecting it. I wish I would have seen him. I literally would have been like, "Who is that guy?" Like, I have no idea who that is. I mean, it's night and day different.
He's some rookie call up from Double A or something.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the younger players and the new generation. One of the guys who, Blue Jays fans have been talking about for a while now is Nate Pearson. He just had a start the other night. Didn't go his way, I wouldn't think. But I was wondering, just from your experience, Ross, how long did it take you to really, truly feel comfortable on the mound at the major league level? Like, I'm sure it's different for every guy, but what did it take for you, and what kind of is the vibe around the league in terms of, is there a number where, pitching coaches say, well, just wait until you have at least this many starts under your belt, or what's that kind of process?
You know what? Good question. I wouldn't say I've ever heard of a number like that. A lot of people will say that actually you'll have success early because nobody knows you, nobody's seen you, and then the league will kind of figure you out, and then you have to, kind of learn on the fly, and then you really settle into who you are. And obviously that's not how it works for everyone. That is how it kind of worked for me. I came out and did pretty well. My first couple starts were solid, and then after that I really battled, and then kind of found my way after that. And with someone like Nate, man, he should have all the confidence in the world, and he does. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. I'm not saying that he doesn't, but when you can rear back and throw 100 miles an hour, you should feel like you belong right off the bat, and you should feel like, if I'm 2-0, I can throw a ball 100 miles an hour in the strike zone and expect to have success, even though I know these are the best hitters in the world and they can time up a bullet. You should have that kind of confidence, and it's just hard, man. It's hard to roll out of bed and say that I belong here when you haven't been at this level and had success. How do you know that? And that comes down to a confidence thing. Like Walker Buehler knew that from the time he was a 20, 21-year-old kid that he was going to get out to the big league at an extreme rate. And he was just that good. But a lot of guys don't have that kind of confidence. And you learn on the fly and you get confidence from having success. And for some, that's harder to come by than others. So hopefully Nate starts rolling off some good starts right in a row. And then he gets that confidence that he deserves, and myself included. I'm off to a start that I'm not necessarily proud of and not happy with. I want to roll off a couple starts that are good, and then that confidence comes back. And when you start pitching with confidence and conviction, you're going to do better. And I've been in the big leagues now 6 years, and I still battle with that. That's part of the grind of pitching in the big leagues and being a big league player, man. It just beats you down. It's a humbling game, but understanding that the pitcher has the advantage at all times. I mean, hitting is really freaking hard. So the pitcher is supposed to win the battle. So the confidence should be in your hand. And sometimes that's just easier said than done.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's the nice thing about the game, right? Is you get that chance every 5 days to go back out and do it again. And we look forward to seeing your next start 100%. But getting back, I guess, on a lighter note, back to the fun of the game, Ross, and this was always a picture that stuck out to me being a social media aficionado. A few years ago, it was Players Weekend, and all of a sudden it was chicken strip adorned in 68 Dodger blue. We got to get the backstory where the nickname came from. Obviously a play of words on your last name, but is that the go-to meal on the road for you? Where did chicken strip come from for you?
Yeah, you know what? So that was the first year where MLB still wanted to keep it really rated G, not even PG, right? And certainly not PG-13. So, and fast forward later, we got guys like Dick Hill, Rich Hill did Dig Mountain, in 2016, there's no way that was going to fly. So my first one was I tried to do stripper, because most people call me stripper or strip or whatever. And they said, no, we can't do it. So I went back with just strip. No, sorry, we can't do it. And it's I want to do something. I want to.
I'm sorry, it's my name, guys.
Yeah, right, yeah. And I want to have something funny and be included in Players Weekend. So no one really calls me Chicken Strip, but it certainly had come up every now and then in high school football and into the minor leagues and stuff. Everyone every now and then mixes a chicken strip, and I did it. And man, it stuck like crazy. I mean, more fans would yell at me chicken strip than they would my real name, and it just caught on, and I love it. It's funny. I think that's still the tweet that I've pinned on my Twitter, saying like I got to start a big league game with chicken strip across my back. I think it's so funny. But never in a million years did I think that would catch on like it did.
Has it turned in any sponsorship opportunities for you yet? And if not, why not?
It was close. Yeah, it was close. You know what? I was holding out for Chick-fil-A. I think I had a small one from Jack in the Box in the works, and I like Jack in the Box just fine, but really, really love me some Chick-fil-A, and it never panned out.
It happens. But speaking of food, let's stick with that as we're having some fun. You've been in the majors now six years, you said. You've been on your fair share of road trips. What's the best road city across the major leagues? Just, I guess you could say LA too if you want, or Toronto, which I'm sure you've been there. But what's the best road city in terms of food offerings when you hit the road?
Man, great question. First two that come to mind are New York and Chicago. New York, obviously, I mean,
just got everything.
Smack dab in the middle of Manhattan. Yeah, you just have everything under the sun that you could possibly want. There's a couple places in Chicago that I really love, and I bet most people would put LA on there. I mean, obviously, I lived there for 5 seasons, so I got to kind of try a little bit of everything. But, if you stay downtown, there's some cool spots. If you stay in Hollywood, West Hollywood, there's some cool spots, and then obviously into other parts of Los Angeles. So, kind of like those are probably the 3 obvious ones, right? Just because you can literally get anything you could ever want.
For sure. So I got to stick on that for just a second. New York, Chicago.
Oh.
Chicago deep dish.
You're going pizza.
Or thin New York pizza. What's the go-to, Ross?
This could sway some fans for you, Ross.
Really? Yeah. No, I'm a thin, and the crispier the better. Obviously, that's not really New York style, but I think of like real thin, crispy. That's my dad's favorite, so it's what he always had for us. So it's like kind of what I grew up eating. Deep dish, I mean, I got to eat it with like a fork and a knife. It's not for me.
It just becomes lasagna at that point.
I don't know if you know this, Ross, but so we live in Regina, Saskatchewan. We're smack dab in the middle of Canada, and we have our own style of pizza here in the city, and it's kind of famous, but it's kind of a mix between like deep dish and I don't even know what to call it really, but it's pretty thick.
They call it Regina style because nobody really knows what it is.
No one really knows what it is. I think what I heard is the Greeks in Regina made it. The Greek people here in Regina back in the day made it. So I don't know. Maybe it's Greek pizza and we don't know about it. We're just claiming it. I'm not sure. But Max, you had a question.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get off of food and we'll get to behind the mic here for you, Ross. Obviously, you're the host of a couple of really awesome podcasts, The Big Swing and now Goats on the Bump. So I'm curious, what drove you to the content game when you're obviously still smack dab in the middle of playing the game that you love for a career? I can imagine being a dad, being a major league pitcher, and being a podcast host. I can imagine 24 hours don't seem like enough time in the day for you most days.
Yeah, I'm a busy man. There's definitely times where I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew. The podcast was really my buddy from back home. So on The Big Swing, my co-host is named Cooper Searles. He's my buddy from in Houston, and our wives are best friends. And he always wanted to start a podcast, and I was kind of hesitant. And at that time, I had all the time in the world. I didn't have a son, and obviously had baseball, but had an off season full of time to kill. And just felt like I had a network of obviously kind of all-stars all in the Dodgers locker room alone at that time. And then I could branch it out into other teammates and guys that I work out in the off season. Just feel like, we could kind of give fans different sound bites than what they get after a game, which is, I took it one play at a time and God willing, I'm going to have success moving forward, just kind of like those Joe Blow answers you get every day in the media, and instead be able to sit down and have like an open, candid conversation with a Major League Baseball player. And I feel like that's what we've done. It's been a lot of fun. And then the Goats on the Bump one is really cool because it's history mixed with pitching. It's me and a big league pitcher, current big league pitcher, talking about basically a Hall of Famer from the past. The first episode was me and Clayton Kershaw talking about Sandy Koufax. And they are identical pitchers through their first 12 seasons. I mean, it's the craziest thing. And Clayton is so good when he sits down and opens up. And Sandy is kind of like an unknown. There's a lot of people, especially kind of our age and younger, that don't know much about Sandy because he kind of disappeared from the game and went and lived his life. And he was so dang good. And it's just been cool to bring some of those stories to light and bring awareness to how amazing some pitchers were from eras that we've basically forgotten about, and kind of bring it to a time where I'm talking to another major league pitcher playing currently. I mean, there's nothing else like it out there right now. So we thought it was a cool idea and we ran with it.
So with that in mind, your podcast, thinking back to some historic pitchers or maybe some of your favorite pitchers growing up, if you could steal a pitch from any guy, I'm talking like a guy's iconic pitch, and my example is Mariano Rivera's cutter. Like if you could steal a guy's pitch and put it into your arsenal right now, who would it be and what pitch is it?
Man.
Yeah, think for a bit. This might be a tough one.
Everything under the sun. Yeah, I feel like I've been asked everything, and somehow this has never come up. That is a really, really good question.
That's a trophy case response. That's what we're going for.
Yeah. Well done. As a guy that for my podcast thinks up questions.
Now you're going to have to include that in your podcast, though. Now you can steal it.
No, I won't steal it from you.
No, you can't.
Okay.
I'll take royalties.
With your permission, I'll do it. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Just to get that Chick-fil-A sponsorship.
Right, yeah. If you get that chicken sponsorship,
right.
I'll snag a free coupon or something.
I mean, there's some that are, just like so obvious in your face, which would be like a Nolan Ryan fastball, a Randy Johnson fastball, like guys that were just unicorns and just better than the era that they pitched in. As a guy that throws off speed, like I only throw like 30-something% fastballs. I really live and die with my off speed. So I would want like Pedro's changeup, I think.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, the changeup is still probably the biggest equalizer in baseball from a pitching standpoint. I mean, if you can throw something that spins like a four seam, but is 10 miles an hour slower, there's almost no way to combat that as a hitter. And Pedro arguably had the greatest changeup ever. So, that's the first one that comes to mind. I think I'd take that and run with it and probably feel pretty good.
We were kind of, brainstorming a little bit, and we thought of like Barry Zito's curveball. Roy Halladay's sinker was another. Well, as Blue Jays fans, we got to see that lots. So
that's why I can't believe that we forgot Pedro. How many times do we watch Carlos Delgado strike out on that changeup? Oh my goodness!
Enough.
Absolutely.
But anyways, Max, I think you had another couple. Hey.
Yeah, I got a couple. Absolutely.
We got a few more.
I want to go back to your Dodgers days too, as well, Ross. Obviously, you've got a ton of storied teammates that have accomplished some amazing things in their careers and still have yet to accomplish. But coming from one of the most storied franchises in all of baseball, and being a student of the game that you are, and the proud historian that you obviously are with the content on your podcast, what was it like pulling on that Dodger blue every day, and just, I guess, the magnitude? What did it feel like? Was the jersey heavier just because of the history of it?
It's a thicker material.
Exactly. How did it feel?
Well, a little bit, right? Because you realize the history that came before you. I mean, you're talking about guys like Jackie Robinson, and what he means to our game. And to think that I'm wearing a jersey that still looks the exact same as what he wore, right? I mean, different material, certainly. I mean, those things probably weighed like 40 pounds. So thankful for that. But I mean, Jackie Robinson put on a jersey that was white or gray, and it said Dodgers across the front. They have not changed their jersey since they moved to LA, and it was basically the same in Brooklyn too. So, and Sandy Koufax, and then into Don Drysdale and Oral Hershiser, and then, an organization that really prided themselves on making baseball global, not only breaking the color barrier with Jackie Robinson, but Hideo Nomo, and how Fernando Valenzuela was such a big deal for the city. And I think we're rookie of the year and just so good at a young age. And just the guys that still come around in spring training. I mean, Sandy comes around in spring training. Maury Wills, obviously Tommy Lasorda, Eric Karros, Oral Hershiser, like names go on and on. And just to pick those guys' brains and learn from them, and the history that is a part of that organization, really special. It really is. And there's really only a couple like that. Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, Cardinals, Dodgers probably are the ones that have history like that. So, and the Dodgers do a really good job of teaching you about it when you're in the minor leagues, and getting you an education on what came before you. And man, it's just something that probably took for granted when I was there, because you're trying to grind through a season and get your career going. And now that I'm away from it, you realize how lucky I really was. And the Blue Jays are awesome. And dude, you have a whole country rooting on the Blue Jays. I mean, that's really special too. Just the history in LA, though, is something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, while we're still on the topic of jerseys anyways, we've got to ask you, as we have the new powder blue ones that you guys adorn anyways every 4 or 5 days or so. I know they're my favorite. I want to know what you guys in the clubhouse think of them. I mean, hopefully it's the same opinion, but I'm just curious, is whenever you get a new set of unis, especially ones as nice as they did with these, just curious your opinion on how happy you are with them.
Well, they're hit or miss with some guys, I'll tell you that. I think some guys wish that we could wear the powder top with white pants. So sometimes you feel like you just look like a little bit too powder blue, like a little bit too blueberry-ish maybe.
Fair enough.
So there's some teams like the Rays that will rock like a powder blue with a white or gray pant, and that looks pretty clean. But really, most of us love them. I mean, Hunjin almost pitches in it exclusively. I feel like since he come back from the DL, he hasn't, but I'm sure he'll start mixing it in again, and he looks great in it. And you kind of ride the wave. If we're playing good in them, we'll keep rocking them, and if we struggle, we might move away from them for a little bit and bring them back. But in general, for sure, most guys like them. It just jerseys fall in the superstition part of baseball and all that comes with it. So it'll ebb and flow with how we play in those powder blues.
We'll start the petition: powder blues with white pants. I was
going to say no, and then when you point out Tampa, I was just going to say that is a set that looks real sharp. But how does that work, Ross? I guess is it a predetermined set in the schedule of what unis you guys are wearing that day? I know that obviously with the variance of the 4 colors that you guys have, it kind of gives you options even home or away. So how does that work in terms of the scheduling of the unis? Or again, does Hyunjin get it because he's the ace of the staff and he just makes the call?
So it's literally as simple as it's what the starting pitcher wants, which is kind of an old school thing. The Dodgers, they only had white and they only had gray. So that was never a thing when I was over there. So now I come here and it's whatever the starting pitcher wants. So when you're at home, you can pick whatever you want, no matter what, that's going to be the jersey. Now on the road, I think the other day, Hunjin maybe did want to pitch in the powder blues, but let's see, who were we playing? We were playing These road trips all run right in a row. I guess he was were we in Oakland? Did he pitch in Oakland? I guess Oakland maybe was wearing their solid color. So we also couldn't wear the solid, or something. Like there's some like little rule where the home team obviously gets to take precedent over what they want to wear. So then Hunjin had to pivot and wear a different uniform. But really, it just comes down to whatever the starting pitcher wants to wear that day.
Well, we learned something new today, Max.
Every day, good stuff.
One thing, I know Max is gonna die when I ask this question because he's been wondering this, and I don't know if he was too scared to ask. But when you go into a new season, obviously we're all gearheads here. Do they just fill your locker with new shirts and hoodies and hats and whatever, shorts? What's that day like? Is it like a table where you get to select, or do you put it in an order form, or like how does that work?
It's real expensive for the fans, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's Christmas morning is exactly what it is. I mean, you will roll in, you'll walk into a room and you'll like pick out where's my locker. Usually sometimes it's in the same, but this is my first time in Dunedin, so I had no idea where my locker is. I find it, and everything's right there. One hoodie of every color, one jacket of every color, your pants, long sleeve t-shirt, short sleeve t-shirt in each color, and then all those extra shirts that we get, sliders, shorts, socks, all that. It's just there waiting for you. It's the size that you rocked last year. So if you gained or lost a little weight, you might have to size up or down. But typically everything fits like a glove, and it's just there waiting for you, man. It's great.
Max is tearing up right now.
Man, that's my Christmas morning times 10, Ross. I was going to say Vladdy probably had to put in a new order this year for maybe a size down. He looks really good. He looks great.
So I was doing some digging on you, Ross, and I look back at your college days at Texas A&M. You had a pretty good 1-2 punch there. You and Michael Waka back in the day, and now he's in your division. Well, I guess you guys have kind of found each other in the same division. And I was wondering if you guys are going to line up against each other maybe in the near future. Do you have any friendly wagers that you might work on, or any friendly bets between the two of you guys?
You know what's funny is I have the all-time hanger on them. I don't even know what I'd call it, but I got my first big league hit off of them. Oh. So there's almost nothing that he can come at me with that I can't be like, dude, I got my first hit off you.
Ultimate bragging rights.
Ultimate bragging rights. That's how I would put it. That's excellent. And you know what's funny? You said 1-2 punch. The third punch of that team was a guy named John Stilson, who was drafted by the Blue Jays, who anybody listening to this that's a diehard Blue Jay, man, he was like big league ready out of college and just never quite made it, probably for a variety of reasons, including injuries. But, we really had a 1-2-3 punch at our time in Texas A&M. That was a lot of fun. And, but yeah, pitching against Waka, obviously I have that hit that I can hang over him, but it's always fun getting a pitch off each other, especially when we can, try and lay down a bunt or get a hit though in the National League.
That's perfect. That's a great bragging right. And now that you're in the AL, he can't do anything about it. So that's perfect. Walk me through your path to Texas A&M, because I was reading you were born in Pennsylvania, but everything I see about you sounds like you were in Texas for a lot. So how did that all kind of line up?
Yeah, I'm the only stripling born out of Texas. My dad just took a job up in the Northeast, and I happened to be born there. I guess I lived there for like months before we returned to Texas. So it's always funny to see Pennsylvania on there.
Right.
And I'm a third generation Aggie. So my grandfather went to A&M. My dad went to A&M. His brother went to A&M. My brother was already at A&M by the time I graduated college. So it was kind of, it was written in stone. I was going to Texas A&M. But I didn't have a baseball offer. I had only one Division I baseball offer from a school called Dallas Baptist, which is a great baseball program. But I wanted to be a Texas A&M Aggie. So long story short, I basically walk on at A&M. I'm a preferred walk on. We treated the fall as my tryout, and I did terrible. I mean, I had like a 9 ERA. I was just getting lit up. And I remember going home for Christmas break my freshman year, thinking like, man, I just didn't make it. I didn't do well enough. There's no way they're going to keep me around. But I could always spin a curveball. I could always front spin a ball and throw a nice 12-6 breaker in there. And Rob Childress, the coach at A&M, loved a good breaker. And he saw something in me where he kept me around when really he probably shouldn't have. I mean, I was not good. I was in over my head. But he kept me around and saw the potential there. And I just got better every year, got bigger and stronger. And, by the time I was a senior, I'd started for the weekend my junior and senior year, got drafted in the 5th round and found my way up to the big leagues with the Dodgers. I mean, it's a crazy story, really. It is, because my baseball career was almost done. And then, walk on at Texas A&M, the school that I dreamed to play at, and it just worked out. I mean, it was awesome.
Well, coming from a guy, I went to a junior college, so I kind of get it. There's a lot of late bloomers in baseball, and the good scouts are the ones who are able to find those guys. So consider yourself one of them.
Absolutely.
I think that's pretty good. That's an awesome story.
Absolutely.
Max, you had another one.
Yeah,
I think,
I got one final one for you, Ross. I'm going to steal a sign here. I'm going to go off of goats here a little bit and kind of borrow from your closing topic. I want to know, of your published episodes right now, so I believe it's John Smoltz, Bob Feller, Bob Gibson, and Sandy Koufax, I want to know your opinion on whose game and, I guess, pitching style would translate best today.
Ooh, man, good question. Oh my gosh, man! You're asking me to pick from 4 first ballot.
Name
Hall
as
of
many
Famers,
as you
I think.
want.
Oh, we didn't.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, I guess the obvious answer is probably Smoltz, because he actually basically pitched in modern baseball. So I'm going to actually throw him away and take one of the 3 olders, which is Gibson, Feller, and Koufax, the guys that basically pitched in a different game than what we have today. And I think it's Bob Gibson, and the reason why is, one, I think he was a unicorn. I think he was just head and shoulders better than the era that he pitched in. I think he was probably the most athletic guy on the field every time he took the field. 2, he's known for his on-the-mound persona, right? Which was like, don't mess with me. Like, if you hit a homer, don't pimp it. Don't make eye contact with me. If you do, I'm going to throw it at your head. And he just intimidated hitters and used that to his advantage. And 3, he threw 1 billion miles an hour, right? I mean, he was, which translates to today's game, and had a wipeout slider. So I'm not necessarily saying he would be an elite starter over 5,000 innings in today's game, but if you throw 100 miles an hour with an elite breaker, you're going to be a really good bullpen piece at least, and probably a pretty good starter just because of the personality and mantra he had around him when he was on the mound. And he was a big game pitcher, man. Yeah. Go look at his stats in the World Series. I mean, these 2 World Series MVPs. I think his career ERA in the World Series is like a 1. One game he struck out 17 guys. I mean, he pitched his best in big games. And, for that reason, I think that would translate to any era.
Well, I guess one more for you there, Ross, just because I'm thinking of it. And I kind of want to go back to the unis real quick. And again, appreciate your time tonight. Like, this has been fantastic. As diehard Blue Jays fans, we can't appreciate your time enough. But go into, I guess, maybe your new favorite Twitter account follow. Robbie Ray's pants. I got a question about his jersey. Is it when you're filling out the order form, is it kind of like you can order like the big and tall section for him? Is it like a medium jersey with medium sleeves? Like, how's that work? I know he looks good. I know he takes care of himself, but it's fairly noticeable on the Rogers Center, or I guess Rogers TV cameras. It's awesome.
This is the big leagues, man. You can get whatever you want. So Majestic is now what, Nike. So Nike is now our uniforms. They'll come in one by one, and they'll tailor it to exactly what you want. You can get it to the height, to the tightness, every little area. Like, you can get the crotch pulled up if you want. You can get on the sleeves nice and tight like Robbie does. You can get it to really hug that booty like Robbie does. You can get whatever you want. That's what he wanted. And And that's what makes him feel good when he's on the mound, and why he probably hasn't walked a guy in 3 starts, you know. And so I don't go quite that tight. I've kind of tightened it up a little bit every year, but I don't think I'll ever get quite to where Robbie's at.
So you weren't going to the same tailor that Walker was either, Mr. Bueller in LA. Hey, no.
No,
Look good, feel good,
Those
man.
are right up there with Robbie. Yeah,
That's the perfect answer. Thank you.
Look good, feel good. That's I'd be the loosey goosey kind of. I'd probably go to the same tailor Vladdy Guerrero's going to, and just kind of say, I'll take what he's got. I was always one of the baggier pant type of guys back in the day. So
Especially the way he's bashing, man. I'll wear whatever he's wearing.
not bad.
Yeah, for
Ross, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a great road trip, and we hope to see you get back on the mound again in a couple of days. And we'll hope all the best of luck the rest of the way, and maybe we'll chat again down the road.
Yeah, for sure, guys. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Ross.
Thank you. And that, of course, was Ross Stripling, our featured guest tonight, brought to you by IKS Media. As always, IKS Media, your premier destination for event planning, live broadcasts and entertainment, video screens, and so much more. Visit iksmedia.ca today for more information and find out how they can make your event the hottest ticket in town. When we come back, we got more NHL on our minds and a whole lot more. Maybe some more Blue Jays talk, Max.
I just got to interrupt. That was awesome.
That was pretty sick.
That was awesome. Thanks so much to Ross, man. That was wicked cool.
Absolutely. So we'll take a break, decompress, and Max is going to run around like a chicken with his head cut
I'm
off.
going to go
screaming.
spend about $1,000 on merch now, and that's, hey, I guess I'm not a big leaguer, so I got to do it that way.
We'll be right back.